Good afternoon and welcome to the Safe Streets Coalition. We're glad you chose to join us today either by Zoom or by phone. This is the second time we've used Zoom for the meeting as we present information to you. You will receive a YouTube link and a survey after our meeting has completed. The PARS Safe Streets staff joining us today are Michelle Voth, Executive Director, Prevention Recovery Services, Lynn Smith, Community Prevention Consultant, Dana Swartz, Licensed Addiction Counselor, Irene Caballero, Stop Grant Coordinator, Bilingual Community Mobilizer, Michaela Butterworth, Education and Communications Specialist, and I'm Judy Wilson, Office Manager and National Night Out Program Coordinator. Please contact any of our staff by email if you have questions. We have the agenda up for today. It's published on our PowerPoint. This is just for your information. So at each meeting, we usually recognize a champion of character. A person can be nominated for exhibiting good character that has significantly improved the health, safety, or quality of life of the community. Any of the 49 different qualities can be recognized and can be considered as a champion of character. Anyone in Shawnee County can be nominated by completing the nomination form and email it to jwilson@safestreets.org. The June meeting minutes are before you. We have sent those to all the coalition members, but this is just for your information and no action is required. Our staff update for June and July includes neighborhood watch meetings. There were 2 neighborhood watch meetings held by Zoom during June and July. Usually we meet with the neighborhood in person, but due to the COVID-19, we have contacted 126 neighborhood watches by email and received several phone calls. There were 3,474 neighbors reached by email or phone. There were 466 emails and calls for service. National Night Out has been changed from August the 8th to October 10th. There are 45 neighborhoods registered to date. Since we've not been able to have planning meetings in person, all information has been emailed and 1,911 people reached. Please check the Lock It, Remove It, or Lose It at the LIRI Facebook, NNO Facebook, and Safe Streets Coalition Facebook, and share the information with others. On the Substance Abuse Initiative, the IFO information was sent to 50 people by email rather than have face-to-face meeting. The retailers meeting was conducted by Zoom with 13 participating. On the Latino initiative, there were 3 presentations given through Zoom for a total of 22 participants. The Latino Facebook reached 10,738 people. Deputy Abigail Christian will give us an update on the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. If you have questions for Deputy Christian, please use the chat at the bottom of the screen by entering your question.
Thank you, Judy. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abigail Christian, the Sheriff's Office Public Relations Deputy. Sheriff Brian Hill is working diligently to keep our citizens and community safe during this time, so I will be speaking on his behalf today. We'll go ahead and go to that first slide, please. The Sheriff's Office would like to extend a sincere thank you to our community. We have seen an abundance of support over the last several months especially, and we cannot thank you all enough. So please take a moment to look at just a few of the recent photos of support and donation that we have received. For more photos and information, please check out our website and our social media pages. The Sheriff's Office is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at this time. All right, we'll go to the second slide. As you all are aware, we have experienced some intense weather lately. The Sheriff's Office would like to remind everyone to stay vigilant and stay in tune with local weather stations to help ensure your safety. You will see a few photos that our officers took during the recent flooding in Shawnee County. Please remember to turn around and don't drown. Next slide, please.
We allocated
All right, as of July 2020, Shawnee County is managing 1,159 registered offenders. Of those registered offenders, there are 586 sex offenders, 257 violent offenders, and 316 drug offenders. The Sheriff's Office has been using the Offender Watch system for approximately 5 years, and the Offender Watch network is the largest offender registration system in the United States. We have 2 new programs through Offender Watch. The first one is a Safe Virtual Neighborhood, and the second one is Active Contact. The Sheriff's Office first introduced the Offender Watch Safe Virtual Neighborhood application in March 2020. It's an app on your child's smartphone and parent's smartphone that will notify the parent when a sex offender has contacted the child or the child is in close proximity to the sex offender's residence. The Offender Watch Active Contact is a valuable tool that helps increase compliance by sending automated, personalized email and pre-recorded telephone reminders to registered offenders, reminding them of their registration responsibilities and requirements, as well as the consequences. These tools are set to go live for Shawnee County in September, and we will release more information about these new Offender Watch tools in the near future. We will continue to ensure the safety and security of our community. Our highest priority is to keep the people and property of Shawnee County out of harm's way. But the Sheriff's Office will continue to serve and protect the citizens of our community above all else. Thank you all for your time today.
Thanks, Deputy Christian. We're really appreciative of that information and look forward to hearing more specifics in September. We'll make sure we can get that out to the neighborhoods as well. Next on our agenda is Sergeant Dan Wilson with the Topeka Police Department, who will be presenting crime statistics and general crime information in the Topeka area. Sergeant Wilson?
Good afternoon, Sergeant Burns and Sergeant Wilson here for Topeka Police Department. Our city violent crime from January 1st to July 28th of 2020. We've seen additional increase of 8 homicides from this time to last year. Rapes are up 6. Robbery to businesses are down 4. Robbery to individuals are up 10. And aggravated assault, aggravated batteries are up 6. For the city's property crime, a couple items of note are burglaries to businesses are up 31. Burglary to residences are down 107. Auto thefts are up 64. And vehicle break-ins are up 53. Some of our property crime stats we believe are due to COVID restrictions and some of the things the county's been doing with businesses. So a couple items of note, though, is that the Topeka Police Department has, for calls, kind of limited some of our officers' exposure to calls. We're taking a lot more reports over the phones. Again, that's to try to limit our officers' exposure to COVID-19 and make sure we have healthy officers on the streets. Sergeant Wilson is going to talk about some of our community activities we've been doing.
During the last couple months, we've done quite a bit of stuff with Boys and Girls Club. We've done a fishing camp. They did a camping night. They did a baseball clinic. And I believe they also did an archery day. That's been done with some of our community officers as well as the school resource officers, just to get the kids out and get them involved in some stuff. And as we've all experienced, the kids being out of school for 6 months has been a little bit challenging. Something else in the last couple months that we've been involved with is we assisted the FBI on a sex offender warrant roundup here in Topeka. Worked with multiple agencies on that. Had some success with getting some people off the streets and mainly working with the registered offenders through the Sheriff's Department and making sure we know where some of these people are at and where they're working and what they're doing. As far as the crime stuff goes, like Sergeant Burns talked about with COVID, it's changed a few different things, some of our protocols, some of our response modes. We're not going out to quite as many calls. That doesn't mean we don't want you to continue to call us and report crime. If you have something like I said, if you have something happening, call us. Dispatch will determine, what our response is going to be, but it doesn't mean we don't care about what's going on in your neighborhood or, what's gone on with you. It's just a better way for us to hopefully provide service and keep everybody safe.
I will say for community meeting wise, we're not going to as many meetings because a lot of them are not being held due to concerns for the health of our citizens. However, the Topeka Police Department is doing a strengthening police and community partnership meeting on Wednesday, August 12th at 5 p.m., as well as the same meeting at Thursday, August 13th at noon. Those are going to be at the Holiday Building, and you'll have members of the Topeka Police Department talking to the public about some of the things we're doing and just connecting with our local communities and just keeping them up to date. It's also opportunity if you do have questions, what's going on with your Topeka Police Department, you can ask members.
On the also back on the crime stats, our burglars have decided that summer's not quite over yet. They've been very active in the nighttime hours, doing car break-ins, unlocked cars, locked cars. Again, I know we say it almost at every meeting, don't leave guns in cars. Don't leave guns in cars. Literally almost once a week or more, we're having a gun taken out of a car. There's no reason for that. Like I said, make sure you're locking up your cars, make sure you remove anything that you think is valuable or that a burglar might think is valuable. Same with spare keys out of your cars. Again, with a lot of the push to start cars, people are leaving a spare key in there so that they can always start their car. Well, that works also for the burglar. Another key component to that is if you have an attached garage, lock the interior door. That way, if worst case scenario, somebody can't get into your house through the other door. Other than that, like I said, continue to call us. Like I said, our response is going to be a little bit different potentially, depending on what's going on, but we don't know what's going on in your neighborhoods if you don't call us and don't report stuff. And just know that that's not going to be something we're going to continue long term. Hopefully, in a month or two, we'll be back to normal and able to respond to stuff and come to your meetings and your events. Is there any questions?
All right, that's about all we have. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sergeant Wilson. Really appreciate the information and all the work that you and the rest of the officers do for this community. Our next speaker will be Melinda Stanley. She is with a partnership specialist with the state of Kansas. She'll be talking about the census update and the importance of getting accurate and as complete as possible census data for our community.
With that, we have about 57 days left to count everyone only once and in the right place. In Topeka, we still have quite a bit of work to do. As many of you may know, there is a complete count committee here in Topeka that is led through the mayor's office and with our city councilman. And the councilman, Padilla, is co-chairing that with Trey Hikes out of the mayor's office. So there are groups of people working on that if you're looking for an opportunity to help. The important thing to know right now is that because that deadline was ramped up, we are starting what we call non-response follow-up, or NARFU. What that means to us is we will begin sending census takers door to door in Topeka to count folks that have yet to respond to the 2020 census. Now, I mentioned Topeka has some areas that have been relatively slow to respond. A lot of those neighborhoods are in the central part of Topeka where we have low responding tracks. That's everything ordered on the south by 21st Street, north to the river, between Washburn, for all intensive purposes, and Adams Street are some of the harder and slower to respond tracks. Our census takers will be out going door to door in neighborhoods. So for those of you that have the capacity to reach out to your neighborhood improvement association and your neighbors to make sure people know that you are going to see folks out with census badges, with laptops, or we all are assigned mobile devices to do this count. So they will be in your neighborhood circulating. Of course, we're adhering to all of those local health protocols. We're wearing masks. Staff will have identification on them as well as a photo ID with the Department of Commerce badge. And if there's any concern, people can contact the Census Bureau directly if there's a concern that this person may not be with the Bureau, or just to verify that they are. They can call there's a 2020 Census phone number as well, which is 844-330-2020, and to verify that they really are an employee. So those are things that are starting in our community, and we're going to be ramping efforts up to make sure that we count everyone in Topeka, because for everyone that we don't count, there is a cost to our community. So we're working with partners all across the state and all through the Topeka community to make sure that we get to every family and every household is counted. So I would welcome any questions that you may have.
Melinda, this is Michelle. I do have a question because are people calling individuals' homes about the census? I've received several calls in my home, and we have filled out this form. So I'm just curious, are there any weird things going on where people keep calling or not?
Yes, it is possible that our quality, we do have some quality control mechanisms, and part of that is to verify that you've completed the census and to validate the responses. So we could have that going on as well.
Okay.
As this door-to-door census taking. We also conduct more than just the census, so there's other surveys that may be happening as well. But yes, you could get a call or two, or even a knock at the door to validate a response.
Okay, great.
And I should say, if our census takers hit a household that either doesn't answer or isn't home, we will leave materials at the door, inviting them to respond. So there will be some materials that are left at the door.
I'm curious, do you currently have enough people that are working on the census now? I know that was an earlier conversation, I think in the spring or before COVID, trying to get enough folks.
It's been an interesting challenge, and at this point, we understand that hiring for our community is, we're at a good place. And just know that people that are going door to door do live in our community because we're hiring locally, right? So the vast majority of people that will be knocking on doors in Topeka live in Topeka.
Great. Any questions? Any other questions for Melinda? You spoke about the cost. Do you want to kind of elaborate on what the cost if we don't get a good percentage?
Sure, you bet. So actually, I'll for every person, now this is a Kansas Counts figure. This isn't the U.S. Census Bureau figure. Kansas Counts and the League of Kansas Municipalities estimate that for every Kansan that is missed, it costs the community and the state $2,080 per person per year. So that's, it's a 10-year implication. So for every person, it's over $2,000 per person per year.
That's fairly significant. Any other questions?
As of last week, we're still needing to count over 40,000 Topekans as far as percentages go. So we have some work to do. That's not where we want to be. So hopefully we'll get to where we need to be by the end of September. We'd like to be at 100%.
That's great. Well, thanks for all the work that you're doing, and everybody that's on the call, if you can share that information, that would be great. And we'll also share that with a link to this conversation. And I'm seeing from Michaela, share the link on how to do online, please.
Oh, it's my2020census.gov or 2020census.gov. That is a quick way to get to the online response portal. Thank you for asking. And if there's any opportunities for us to be present or at a local event or anything like that, feel free to reach out. We're glad to be visible and in the community safely.
Great. Thanks, Michaela. That was a good suggestion there. That concludes our formal program for the day, for our meeting, but I'd like to entertain any suggestions for topics that you all might have for the future. For the foreseeable future, we will be either doing Zoom or last meeting we also had it at TPD and did City of Character recognition. So we're trying to figure out if this is the best. We certainly, our numbers are down. People like to do face-to-face, but this isn't just a good possibility right now. But curious if you have any ideas for other topics that you're interested in that we can bring to the table for discussion.
It's Marcus Miller from Shawnee County District Attorney's Office. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I wanted to hopefully see if we could have one where we talk about mental illness. I was just starting to get working with NAMI, Kansas, and I think that mental health and mental illness should be a topic that is brought up because I'm very big on getting the stigma of mental illness, that wall pushed down, especially when it comes to the Black community. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that we have a lot of mental illness around us and make it okay for people to be having those conversations so that we can see it and talk about it with our own friends and our own family, and understanding how much mental health is a huge part of the crimes that are committed.
Right. There's a huge link between mental health and substance abuse and crime all together. So thanks for that suggestion. I heard Bill talk about the crisis team. I'm curious, is everybody aware of what the crisis team does, or is that a topic that should also be brought forward? And that also includes mental health issues.
Michelle, we could sure have somebody from the co-responder crisis intervention team, get together with maybe somebody from the TPT and or the Sheriff's Department and make a presentation at a monthly meeting, even next month if you like. And we have some numbers we could put up and some information to share if that would be helpful.
Sure, I think that would be great. It'd be a combination. I know, and I'm just reading from the chat too, one of the things that PARS did, we did a social media campaign in July with NAMI on social media about mental health awareness and disparities. There's a lot of information about that. So thanks, Bill and Marcus, for bringing those ideas forward. Any other ideas? We've talked in recent past, we did a session on marijuana, on opioids, on vaping. Those are 3 things that we've had in the past year.
How about where are we on any trafficking, fighting, since we've pretty much had to step back on trains, etc.
Mm-hmm. Sure, we could certainly reach out to the rescue mission and that group that was working on that.
Hi, everyone. I'm with the YWCA Center for Safety and Empowerment. My name is Becca Spielman, and we would be happy to provide any information as well in terms of the services that we've been offering to survivors of trafficking here in the county.
And where are we as far as seeing a problem in our community? I know it hasn't just gone away, even though we're not able to actively do something or have trainings in the community. As far as what are we seeing, and I know there was a big arrest several months back, which was a real praise, and I don't even know much about that, but I know that happened. But are there other investigations? Are we seeing progress?
I mean, I certainly can't speak from the law enforcement side of things. I can only talk about, I can talk about our collaborations with law enforcement, but not specific to any busts or anything. But we can certainly talk about how we've continued to see folks accessing services and how the impact of COVID has been on them, and been on access in terms of, what we see regarding inability to access services, if we're not able to operate in a face-to-face way, what that might look like for survivors. I mean, I think there's a number of different ways that we could have those conversations and speak to the statistics there. But if you're looking specifically for law enforcement response, I would definitely want to defer to those folks who are doing that work.
I think all of that would be good.
Great. Anybody else? These are rich and deep conversations that we can have, and information that would be great to get out to the community. Any others?
Or maybe things that you're struggling with during the COVID, and as an organization, you want to share with all of us, maybe increase awareness or educate a little bit, anything that you could use this group to share.
Also, I keep reading that suicides are up across the nation, correlating to COVID-19 in many aspects of that. And so I was wondering if you all have seen that, and maybe what's happening in our community to, in a positive way, combat that.
I don't have anything right in front of me, but we could sure try to respond to that. And I know that we're continuing to be on call 24 hours a day. The Crisis Residential Center is open, and detox is open. All those things that kind of have relationship to suicide. And I think that Richard Siegel at with the city has some of that information. I need to circle back with him and get that data back onto my screen. I looked at something a couple of weeks ago, and I just can't recall, but should have that information handy, and I just don't.
Well, we can certainly put that on the list. One other thing I'll just put out there, Bill and several other folks from both the hospitals and TPD, fire department, have been working this spring on a strategic plan related to opioid prevention and treatment, and are in the process of finalizing a strategic plan for Shawnee County. So that may be another thing that we can at least get information out to you about that and what's going on. But we'll keep the conversation going, and I think one thing I would encourage all of you is to email Safe Streets, email particularly Judy Wilson, jwilson@safestreets.org, if you have additional comments, suggestions for topics, because we'll be planning those throughout the year. And one thing I would like to just give you a teaser, PARS and Safe Streets and the Substance Abuse Task Force that we coordinate is hosting a town hall meeting on September 23rd. And we'll be talking about resilience, youth resilience, and what families and communities can do to help build resilience for youth. So we'll be having more information about that, but it will be a Zoom call the evening of September 23rd. So stay tuned. We're excited about that. And with that, I don't know, Irene, do you have anything else, or Michaela or Judy, for the good of the cause or the day?
I just say thank everyone for attending today, and as I mentioned earlier, we'll send a YouTube link and the survey too, if you wouldn't mind to complete the survey and send it back to us. That it's always good to have your comments about how we can improve our meeting. Thank you so much.
And for those of you who can or have looked at the chat, Michaela just put some more details in the chat about the Stronger Together, Creating Hope Zoom meeting on the September 23rd. And as I said, we'll send more. So please save the date. And also, when you get information, we'd ask that you share it. And we are excited. We have a speaker by the name of Dr. Christian Thurstone, who is a psychiatrist out of Denver, works with youth, also has worked with the military, is bilingual. We'll be sending more information about him, but he's an expert on both trauma and youth substance abuse. And so we're excited he will join us via Zoom and have some great information, and hope to have some interaction with him as well for questions. So we're excited about that. And he will also be doing a continuing education program. We're partnering with Stormont Vail, and he'll be doing a 3-hour continuing education program via Stormont. And then one of our staff, Dana Schwartz, will be talking about trauma and addiction. And it's going to be a 6-hour total continuing education program. So we'll be sending more information about that as well. So thank you all for joining us. Appreciate you taking time during lunch period, and we will send out the link to this. So feel free to share this so other folks can learn about what's been said today, and perhaps we can get some additional ideas for topics and conversations going forward. So with that, unless anybody else has anything, thanks again. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next month. Thanks.